Okay, so I have a question for you right off the bat. Be totally honest.
Okay.
When you look in the mirror in the morning, brushing your teeth, what do you see? Like, do you see a soul, some magical spiritual being,
Mm.
or do you see a moist robot?
A moist robot. I mean, that is probably the most unappealing way to describe a human I've ever heard.
Yeah.
It just paints this really specific kind of gross picture.
It sounds like a bad insult from some B-grade
Mm.
sci-fi movie, right? But it's actually the core concept for the deep dive we're jumping into today.
Yeah.
We're looking at this really fascinating and frankly kind of weird set of materials. It's a slide deck called The Moist Robot's Guide to Success, and the book that goes with it, How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big.
By Scott Adams.
Right.
And, you know, right away, that title tells you this is not your standard believe in yourself kind of advice.
Yeah.
Adams is the Dilbert guy, the cartoonist.
Right.
And if you've read Dilbert, you know he looks at human behavior with this mix of just extreme cynicism and really practical systems thinking.
Exactly. The whole premise is that the human brain isn't this mystical cloud of feelings. It's a user interface.
Mm.
It's a wet biological computer that you can program. You can hack it, really, if you just know where the keyboard is.
And that's the mission here for this deep dive. We're going to walk through this very specific template for life that he lays out. We're going to try and strip away the emotion from words like success or passion and just look at the mechanics. You know, if you treat yourself like a machine, can you actually upgrade your output?
So, okay, let's unpack this. The first thing that jumps out is that Adams he starts by immediately lowering the bar. He says right on the slide, I am not an expert.
Right. He calls himself a professional simplifier.
Which is such a great title. I think I'm going to steal that.
It fits him perfectly, though.
Yeah.
His whole job with Dilbert was looking at some messy corporate thing and just stripping out all the noise until only the absurd truth was left.
And he's doing the same thing here with success.
Yeah. He's arguing that experts, whether they're in finance or fitness, they overcomplicate things to justify their fees. A simplifier just tries to find the one or two levers that actually work.
And to prove he's not some guru, he starts with what he calls his resume of failure. I'm looking at the slide right now, and it's a laundry list of absolute disaster.
It is impressive. We only see the end result, right? The famous cartoonist.
Yeah.
But this shows the graveyard of ideas that came before.
There was the Velcro rosin bag for tennis players.
Which failed because apparently tennis players do not want a sticky bag attached to them while they're running around.
A fatal design flaw, yeah.
And then there was the meditation guide. I think he says it sold exactly 3 copies.
3 copies. That's just heartbreaking.
And the Zippy Ship computer game. Total flop.
And my personal favorite, the Dill Burrito. It was supposed to be this, perfect nutritional burrito with all the vitamins that would revolutionize lunch.
And instead it just failed.
Yeah.
People didn't want a multivitamin wrapped in a tortilla.
And he had 2 failed restaurants on top of that. But here's where that whole moist robot programming thing comes in.
Right.
Most people would look at that list and just see a tragedy. They'd see a loser.
Right.
But Adams looks at it and he just sees data.
He has this phrase for it. Failure is fertilizer.
Such a vivid image.
It is. He says you shovel and this is his word, the turd of failure onto your garden. You hold your nose for a while, but eventually that failure breaks down into something useful. You glean skills from every single disaster.
So the burrito failed, but he learned about supply chain management.
Exactly. The restaurants fail, but he learns about managing staff. He's not chasing the win, he's chasing the skill.
And this leads into how he decides what advice to even listen to. He's got this slide, the 6 filters for truth.
Which is so useful because we're just drowning in advice these days, aren't we?
Totally.
And Adams says most of our standard filters are, well, they're broken. Personal experience, unreliable. Our memories are awful.
Friends and family, biased. They don't want to hurt your feelings.
Experts, often paid for their opinions. Even scientific studies, which we usually treat as, the gold standard.
Wait, even studies? Why?
Well, he says correlation does not equal causation. You can find a study to prove almost anything. Just because, say, people who drink wine live longer doesn't mean the wine is helping them.
Okay, right. Maybe they're just wealthier and have better health care to begin with.
Exactly. So if you can't trust any of that, what's left?
Consistency.
That's his gold standard. If you see a pattern that works across different fields, different people, different times, that's probably the only reliable marker of truth you're going to find.
Okay, so speaking of patterns that challenge the norm, let's get to the slide that I think probably upsets the most people. It's just titled, Passion is Bullshit.
Yes. This is a direct shot at the most common piece of advice ever, right? Follow your passion.
We hear it constantly, do what you love. But he has this graph. It shows a failing project that starts with super high passion, and it just plummets. Then it shows a successful project that starts with low passion, but the passion just shoots up as soon as success kicks in.
The argument is that passion is a byproduct. It's the effect of success, not the cause. You know, if you love your great idea, but it's losing money for 2 years, your passion just, it drains away. The robot powers down.
But if you have a boring idea, like, I don't know, supplying concrete for driveways.
Right. Zero passion for concrete. But then suddenly customers are calling, you're making money, you're expanding. All of a sudden you become very, very passionate about concrete.
He has a great rule for this, the loan officer's rule.
Yes. Never lend money to someone following their passion. Lend to the grinder starting a dry cleaner.
Because the passionate person is blinded by emotion, the grinder is just looking at the math.
Exactly.
So if passion is out, what do we replace it with? Because this next slide is the one that really got me. It's a mantra. Goals are for losers. Systems are for winners.
This is probably the biggest takeaway from the whole thing. But we kind of need to define the terms because we use them interchangeably.
It sounds so harsh, though. Goals are for losers. I have goals. Does that make me a loser?
Well, think about the structure of a goal. Let's say your goal is lose 10 pounds.
Okay.
What is your state of being every single day until you lose that 10th pound?
I guess I'm not there yet. I'm failing.
You are in a constant state of pre-success failure. You wake up every morning not having met your goal. It's a psychological burden. You're telling your brain, we aren't good enough yet.
And then, if you actually hit the goal, you celebrate for a minute.
For a minute.
Yeah.
And then you lose your purpose. The game's over. You're aimless until you set a new goal.
Yeah.
And you get that yo-yo effect.
Okay, so contrast that with a system. What's the difference?
A system is just something you do on a regular basis that increases your odds of happiness in the long run. So instead of lose 10 pounds, the system is eat healthy every day.
So if I eat right today, I've succeeded for today.
Exactly. You win every single time you apply the system. You get that little dopamine hit every day. It's sustainable. A goal is a destination, but a system is the vehicle that gets you there.
So it's about shifting from a future reward to a current process.
And making sure that process gives you energy. Which brings us to what he calls the primary metric. If you're a moist robot, you have to worry about your battery.
This is the maximize personal energy slide.
He argues this should be the organizing principle for your entire life.
Yeah.
Not time, not money, personal energy.
There's a visual here. It's like a target, concentric circles. And in the dead center, the bullseye, it just says you.
Specifically your health, your sleep, your fitness, that's the core.
Then the next ring out is economics, your career, assets, then family and friends. And on the very outside is world and community.
And the hierarchy there is absolutely crucial. The argument is you have to fix the center circle first. If you are tired, sick, or broke, you are useless to your family, and you are definitely useless to the world.
He calls it the selfishness illusion.
Yeah, which is a great phrase because it's so counterintuitive. We're taught that being selfish is bad. But he argues generosity is a byproduct of selfishness.
You have to be selfish about your sleep and your diet to build up enough charge.
To be of any use to anyone else. If you don't take care of that center ring, you become a burden on the outer rings. You become the person who needs help instead of the one who's giving it.
That's a really freeing way to look at self-care. It's not an indulgence, it's just machine maintenance.
And part of that maintenance is choosing to be a simplifier, not an optimizer.
Oh, this one hit a little too close to home. I am definitely an optimizer.
I think most of us try to be. The optimizer is the person who tries to combine 4 errands into one trip to save 5 minutes of driving time.
That is me. I will spend 20 minutes planning the perfect route to save 5 minutes.
Right. But you're mentally calculating, you're stressing about traffic. It creates this fragile system where if one thing goes wrong, the whole thing just collapses.
Whereas the simplifier.
The simplifier just takes the long way, does one thing at a time. They accept good enough. They might waste a few minutes, but they free up a huge amount of mental energy. Optimization drains the battery. Simplification creates a surplus.
Okay, so protect your energy. Now, what do we do with that energy? Let's talk about the talent stack.
This is, I think, the best news for anyone who just feels, average at what they do.
I love this concept. The slide basically says you don't need to be in the top 1% of one thing.
Which is good news, because being in the top 1% of anything it's nearly impossible. The competition is just insane.
So what's the alternative?
You just need to be in the top 25% of 2 or 3
The
things.
top 25% is not that hard. That's just being pretty good.
It's totally achievable. But the magic is in the overlap, in the stack. He uses himself as the example. He admits he's a mediocre artist.
Right. He says thousands of people draw better than him. He also says he's a mediocre business
I
person.
mean, he has a good sense of humor, but he's not, world-class comedian.
Yeah.
But when you stack those 3 things, mediocre artist plus mediocre business sense plus good humor, you get Dilbert.
Which is incredibly rare and valuable.
Exactly. A great artist who doesn't get business can't make it. A business guy who can't draw can't either. The combination is what makes it work. The formula is basically good plus good, excellent.
And he says every new skill you add, it literally doubles your odds of success.
It's about managing luck. That's another key slide here.
Do you really manage luck, though? Isn't it just random?
You can manage your exposure to luck. He contrasts low-odds games with high-odds games. A low-odds game is like buying a lottery ticket.
Or staying in one job for 40 years just hoping your boss notices you. You have no control.
Right. But a high-odds strategy is acquiring multiple skills, a talent stack again, and working on projects that can scale. You can't control when lightning strikes, but you can stand on a mountaintop holding a lightning rod instead of hiding in a cave.
So building your talent stack is basically building a bigger lightning rod.
Precisely. You make yourself a bigger target for good fortune.
Okay, let's go deeper into the metaphor. We've talked strategy, but what about the actual user interface? How do we program this machine every day?
This is where it gets really tactical. He treats the brain like a computer with, input terminals.
Yeah.
If you type in certain codes, you get a predictable output, no matter how you feel.
The slide lists a few. The first one is smilerroutine.exe.
It sounds so silly, but the pattern is that the physical act of smiling actually triggers the brain chemistry of happiness, even if it's a fake smile.
So you're hacking your mood from the outside in.
Yes. We think, I feel happy, therefore I smile. The moist robot theory says, I am smiling, therefore the sensors must be telling the CPU that I'm happy.
He also mentions posture check.
Same idea. Slumping signals defeat and low energy. Sitting up straight signals, work mode. It's a mechanical input that changes the software state.
There's also clean workspace.
That's about reducing background processing. A messy desk is just visual noise that your brain has to constantly process, even subconsciously. It's a battery drain.
And then diet, which is really just about treating food like fuel for the robot, not just entertainment.
Right. He also touches on affirmations here.
Okay, now this is where some people might start rolling their eyes. Repeating, I will be rich into the mirror. It feels a little...
He knows that.
Yeah.
He doesn't claim it's magic. He explains it through something in the brain called the reticular activating system, the RAS.
Okay, what is the RAS for those of us who aren't neuroscientists?
It's basically a filter. Your brain is getting hit with millions of bits of data every second. The RAS decides what's important enough to get through to your conscious mind.
Like when you buy a new car, a red car, and suddenly you see red cars everywhere.
Exactly. The red cars were always there, but your RAS was filtering them out. By repeating a goal, an affirmation, you're programming your RAS to look for things related to that goal.
So you start noticing opportunities you would have ignored before.
Right. The universe doesn't change for you. Your focus changes so you can see what was already there. It's a software update for your filter.
He actually has a wild story about using this on himself. The case study, hacking the incurable.
This is a really powerful part of the book. Adams developed this condition called spasmodic dysphonia.
Which sounds awful. His voice would just snap shut.
Yeah, he physically couldn't speak properly. And the experts, the doctors, they all told him there was no cure. It was permanent.
But he went into pattern recognition mode.
He acted like a scientist studying a bug in the code. He noticed a pattern. His voice filled in normal conversation. But, and this is the weird part, he could speak perfectly fine if he was rhyming.
That is so strange. Why would rhyming matter?
It uses a different neural pathway. He realized the hardware, his vocal cords, wasn't broken. The software, the interface, was just glitching in specific contexts.
So it was a context problem.
It was a context problem. And he realized if he could change the context, he could bypass the glitch. He essentially rewired his own brain by practicing speaking in different ways. He treated it like a broken interface, not a dead end.
And he recovered.
He did. He hacked his own moist robot to fix a bug the experts called permanent.
That is incredible. It really drives home the idea that we have way more control over our own programming than we think.
It does. It moves you from being a passive passenger to an active system administrator of your own body.
So, as we wrap up, there's a slide near the end that I think sums up the whole attitude. It's titled Deciding versus Wanting.
This is a really crucial final distinction. He says wanting is just a wish. Everyone wants to be successful.
But deciding is different.
Deciding is paying the price. The slide looks like a receipt and it lists the costs: sacrifice, boredom, risk, and embarrassment.
Embarrassment is a big one.
The huge one. If you aren't willing to look foolish like Adams did with the dill burrito or the sticky tennis bag, you aren't deciding, you're just wanting. Success has a price tag. You have to decide to pay it.
So let's recap the moist robot cheat sheet from the deck.
It's a great summary. 1. Goals are for losers. Build systems. 2. Passion is BS. Focus on energy. 3. Simplify everything. 4. Stack your talents.
5. Be selfish with your health so you can be generous with your success. And 6. Fake it to program your attitude.
It's a really powerful toolkit. It just takes all the mystery out of success and makes it feel like an engineering problem.
It does.
And there's one final thought he leaves you with. The last slide just says, "It is already working."
What does that mean?
He says that just by engaging with this material, by listening to this deep dive right now, you've identified yourself as a seeker. You aren't just waiting for luck to happen. You're actively looking for the code.
The rewiring has already begun.
Exactly. You're already running the update.
That's a great place to leave it. A huge thank you to all the moist robots listening in today. Hopefully your programming got a little bit of an upgrade.
Keep stacking those talents.
See you next time on The Deep Dive.